Hi everybody, thanks for watching this video. I'm here today with my friend Kerry, who is a business owner in Dubai, and I think that the business that she has may benefit some of my followers. So I've asked her to come on and chat to me today about what she does, so you guys can hear more about that. And then obviously, if you do feel like her services are helpful to you, you can reach out to her for some more help. So hi Kerry, good morning.
Hi, Claudine. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure, lovely to see you. So I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit more about you and your business, and then I'll ask you a few other questions that I've thought of.
Okay, sure. So my name is Kerry, obviously. I'm the director over at Orbit Care Recruitment. We are a family recruitment service. So we are based in the UAE, but we are recruiting internationally. And we recruit for three areas of education, childcare, and special needs.
Fabulous. Well, that is so good to hear because I know from talking to my friends and my clients, and also from seeing on various Facebook posts of the groups that I'm on, that sometimes families really struggle to find the right fit for them, with their help that they need relative to their children and their concerns around that type of thing. So it's really good to know that there's a service out there. So can you tell me a little bit more about the purpose of Orbit Care? Maybe tell us about the sort of differences between those three areas.
Yeah, sure. So, like I said, we're a family recruitment service. So, our main aim is working together with families to find the right fit within those three areas. So, we recruit for roles such as childcare roles. These are roles such as, nannies and babysitters. And then we recruit for educational roles. These could be governesses, shadow teachers, some call them LSAs, learning support assistants, tutor roles, or, special needs educators. And then with our special needs roles, these are more roles such as therapists, nurses, special needs nannies, or special needs governesses. So the purpose of our service really is to, try and ensure that we are finding quality candidates for the families. So there is, a lot of childcare professionals here in the UAE and worldwide. And we really found there was a gap in the market for, special needs, especially, but also just, the process of recruitment. So the reason that we started is I have worked as a teacher previously before. I've also worked as a governess before. So I realized quickly that the process of, finding that work can be extremely difficult. Sometimes, the checks can be, there could be no checks. There's a lot of people, meeting people on Facebook, LinkedIn, this sort of thing, which is great, but it's kind of, we stepped in to ensure the safety, the wellness of the families, make sure that the appropriate checks are done, the appropriate questions are asked. And especially for our education roles, like the shadow teacher roles, we noticed as I was working with more and more educators that a lot of them had never provided a police clearance before, or they had never, really worked with special needs children. They weren't really aware of what the job was, or they were looking for this sort of role and they didn't know where to start. So the purpose that we found was, there was a gap in the market. And also as well, for the special needs roles, such as our home roles, like nannies, therapists, and this sort of thing, there is so many amazing, professionals out there, but there was really not like a hub for somebody to come to and say, this is what I need, this is where I need to go. Personally working with recruiters myself, the recruiters had never actually personally worked with special needs or worked with children before. So it wasn't as relatable. And also, myself and the other agents at Orbit Care, we're all from an education or care background. And we all understand the importance of finding the right fit. So yeah, the main purpose really is just to find quality candidates whilst also supporting candidates to find quality work. That was a big gap that we saw. Also, there was a lot of nannies that I've worked with, a lot of LSAs that I've worked with, and, trying to set them up in a new role professionally, making sure that those professional steps are taken before they agree to the role, make sure, that they're happy with the role as well, equally as the family are happy also.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's so much here in the UAE where families obviously require help to be, you know, a person in their home, and obviously finding that right fit isn't always easy. And also for the person who's, you know, being, for the candidate, for the prospective helper, you know, they've also got some due diligence of their own that they need to do, clearly. So it's great that families have an alternative from just Googling, such as Orbit Care, to, you know, really be able to have that reassurance that they're going to find the right person and the right family for the right person for the right family, and the right family for the right person. Who are your kind of typical clients, or who do you to support in this normally, Kerry? Who can people kind of identify with when they think about your service?
We support all families, you know, who require, you know, these specific professionals, although we do have certain thresholds that we have to be able to, you know, ensure that the candidates are, you know, their well-being and their safety is, you know, our priority.
Yeah.
So, you know, have a lot of different families that we work with. Like I said, we work internationally. We work with a lot of families, you know, average families in Dubai that are just looking for someone that's able to provide a quality service. But like I said, we do have a threshold, such as the families have to agree to, you know, the work. Sorry, the working.
Tax, hopefully not.
Yeah. Have to agree to the working conditions fitting in within the labour law of the UAE, and the salaries do have to be fair. So
Right.
we are a very inclusive company. So one of our main morals of the company as well is, you know, we base every candidate, every family, you know, on what they require and what they need, rather than anything. So, you know, if our families are coming to us, we make it very clear to them that, you know, we judge our candidates on their skill set, their experience, their background, their personality. We don't select candidates based on any other reason, such as, you know, maybe ethnicity or race. We also try to promote inclusivity within our own companies. So myself and the other agents, we are from all around the world. We try to make sure that, you know, we have different languages available. So for example, if we do have a family that, you know, English isn't their first language, that we do have an Arabic speaker, or, you know, another speaker that's able to really understand the details, be able to get those finer, you know, the finer details, so we can really meet what they require. And we also do that with candidates as well. You know, we understand that not every family requires an English speaker. So for example, we might have a candidate who isn't an English speaker, but they might be, you know, French and Arabic, for example. So we would make sure that they can be interviewed within those languages. So we are allowing them to show us their full potential. So we're not restricting them. We wouldn't want to be unfair. You know, I don't speak French and Arabic. So if I said, oh, you know, I didn't understand what to say, it wouldn't be inclusive and it wouldn't be fair of us based on, you know, the needs of what another family needs. So we try to make sure that we are allowing the possibility of everybody to, you know, really show what they've got. So yeah, that's usually who we support. And we mainly work with families, you know, who are passionate about having somebody that's going to come in and make a change, but also somebody that's passionate about working together with the professional. So especially with our, you know, LSA roles, I know a lot of feedback that we've got from families is, you know, they don't really have much communication with the LSA, or they don't get much feedback, or they don't really know what's going on with the school or the therapist, or, you know, the childcare that they're receiving. So one of the biggest factors that we want is we want families that are looking to work together with the candidate, have, you know, that big, you know, that circle around, you know, the child or the client that needs it, and be able to work together as a team. So yeah, they're the type of candidates and families that we are working with.
That is so wonderful, and it's really thorough, which is really, really heartwarming to hear. So if somebody decides that they need to reach out to you, what's the process that they should know or understand?
Okay, so our first step in the process is obviously the initial contact. So sometimes myself and the agents do reach out to families. You know, we are on a lot of different platforms, social media groups and stuff like this. So we might see, you know, somebody requesting or looking, we can reach out to them. Or what we can do is someone, if they reach out to us, we will be in contact with them. So the first step that we have is our 1 to 2 minute survey. So we just ask every client to fill this out, and it just is, you know, 5 or 6 questions, and it just allows us to get like an overview of what they're possibly looking for. Once we've received that very short survey back, we have our client assessment call. So the purpose of our client assessment call really is for, number one, for me to be able to get all the finer details, and number two, to be able to explain the service, and also number three, to find out, you know, what the expectation is, you know, whether we're actually the right service. We are very open and honest over at our side. You know, if we feel maybe we're not the right service for you, we will tell you that. We will say, you know, maybe this is not the right service, maybe this is what you need. Or, you know, we do have a collective network of professionals that we can refer somebody else onto if we feel it's not something that's, you know, within our realm, or, you know, something that actually, you know, is not what they require, you know. So we are quite open and honest. But what we try to do is take all the information. Once we've gathered all that information, we will, you know, send them what is our client agreement. So our client agreement is just an agreement which is between ourselves and the client. It's got all of our details, you know, what you can expect from us, you know, and what the client's responsibilities are as the direct employer. So once that's signed, we then take on the job role. We then pass this out to our candidates. So we like to call it like a 3-stream system. So we have our database that we already have of candidates. We headhunt also, and we have, you know, regular applications coming in anyway, you know, people just inquiring with us to see, you know, what jobs that we might have. So with those 3 streams, we try to work all of those together to provide profiles for the family. So when we are providing profiles, before they even get to see any profiles, every candidate is fully interviewed by us. They have a police clearance, they have their certificates checked by us, and their references. And we only put forward the candidates that we feel, you know, are suitable for the sort of families that we are working with. So we ask them a lot of questions, we really get to know them, and we do look out for, you know, personality, communication, this sort of thing. And we send them a profile, which is almost like an extended CV based on the information that we have. We can send them as many profiles as we have available, you know, of those that are interested in the role. Once they have reviewed the candidate profiles, they can, you know, select 1, 2, 3, or they can meet with all of them. There's not a limit of how many, you know, if we have them available, you can meet with all of them. So once they've reviewed the profile and they want to interview them, we set up the video call. So some families do prefer to go straight in with the face-to-face, but we do try to encourage to have that video call first, just because, number one, you know, it's just a good idea for you to just get to know that person. You know, it's just an introduction. It doesn't have to be so, you know, formal, but you can just ask a couple of questions, get to know them. And that's an opportunity as well for our candidate to decide whether they would like to proceed with you also as a client. So we're very, we work very closely with our candidates, and we try to make sure that they're happy in every step. We would never force them to like go forward for any interview or any trial or anything like that unless they were comfortable, because we believe that, you know, that reflects back in their performance if they're not happy. So what we do is we set up the video call. We also help parents, you know, sometimes they might not have ever interviewed someone before. This might be new to them, or they have, and they still feel like they might need a little bit of guidance. So we do have a list of video call questions that they can use. We do also help the candidates with, you know, guided questions. You know, some candidates might be a little bit more shy than others. So we can say, you know, make sure you're getting the most out of this video call. This is what the questions you can be asking. You know, they're not compulsory, they don't have to use it, but we do that as a stepping stone to really get the most out of that first initial interaction. we will then check in separately with both sides, see how it went. No decisions have to be made on the call. And if that client and that candidate are happy, we will then update both parties and arrange a face-to-face meeting. So the face-to-face meeting, I would always recommend to be more, not really a trial, but more of just a face-to-face meeting. Right. Come and meet sit down together, because it can be a lot on a child sometimes to just bring a professional in and say, okay, here you go, spend some time together. So use that time to really be as more of a family unit. Some families might want to go to a play area, might go to a coffee shop, keep it very, relaxed. Right. Everybody can know each other. If there's some finer questions that you want to ask them, or, you just want to explain to them, like, this is how a day-to-day goes for us. And, that candidate can see what your setup is, whether that's something they feel maybe they could slot into, or if honestly they feel like it's not the right job for them, they can come back and tell us. If that step goes well, we would arrange a trial day. Every family is different. So some families might say, just come for a morning and then we'll decide. Some might want to do, staggered trial, a morning here, morning there. Some might want to do like a full day. We wouldn't recommend doing, any more than a week's trial, but this would have to be a paid trial. But we would recommend doing at least more than a couple of hours, so you can really get to see them one-on-one. Allow that individual to be in different settings, take them to the park, do the trial there, take them to the house, see them in different environments, see how creative they can be, what their initiative is like, and see if, not every candidate's going to be right for every family. And that's fine. That's normal. It's just seeing who slots in with your personalities, what works for you. If that goes well, so obviously depending on the job, depends on the next step. So for example, if it is a domestic role, so all of our domestic roles, we follow the UAE labour law quite strictly. So for all domestic roles, the visa would need to be sponsored by the direct employer, so the client. So we would make sure that we write up an offer letter, and then that would be passed over to the family to start the labour law contract, the visa, and everything like that. If it is something like a shadow teacher, for example, where they can work on their own visa, and they can work in the school on their own visa, that's fine. Then what we would do is just set a start date. We would write up an offer letter, or make sure everything's in agreement. And then following from that, we have a 3-month buffer period. So if for anything, if anything goes wrong, or if for any reason that placement can't continue within those first 3 months, we will find a replacement for no additional charge of the agency fee. So we do that because we understand that sometimes after a while you might just realize that it's just not working out, or the professional or family might need to change their circumstances. So if it is within those 3 months, we can find an alternative with no additional charge. In terms of fees and costing, we have different fees for different roles, but we do try to make them under what the current value the current market is. So we have done our research and we have looked around, so we have tried to make it more affordable. So it does depend on the role, but we take a percentage of what the annual salary of the worker would be. It is usually 7%, and it is capped to a minimum of 3,000 dirhams for any full-time role. If it's a part-time role, we have, it depends on the length of the role, or if it's short-term. So that's something we would need to discuss with the family, but it is usually slightly less. Also for the agency fee payments, we understand that sometimes, that might be a big chunk of money to pay in one go, especially if you've got school fees and you're paying for like an LSA or a nanny on top. So we do have a system in place that if you want to break that agency fee down in 3 months, we can split that over a 3-month payment, just so we can try and make sure that you are not struggling over your side, because we understand that sometimes families, they really need someone, but there's a financial aspect to it that's holding them back. So we would want to try and make that as easy as possible. The agency fee is only paid once somebody is found and somebody is placed. So if for any reason, you find an alternative, or, You don't require our services anymore. The only fee that you would need to pay at the beginning of the process is a deposit. So we just take a small deposit just to secure the recruitment placement, because we don't take on every family at one go. We try to make sure we can focus on the families that we have. So that's why we take a deposit. The deposit is non-refundable, but the agency fee is not paid unless somebody is found. And that is only paid after the placement is finished.
That sounds very fair and very reasonable and very generous of the element, which is the affordability, paying in installments piece. So, I'm sure lots of families who would benefit from your help will be encouraged and reassured to hear that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I got one
sure.
thing. So once the placement is, done, we don't just, leave families to figure it out by themselves. We do actually have a system in place where, we have checklists, we have a guide, we have multiple guides actually. One is about, what to expect from children with a new professional in the house. We also have a checklist of, what you should be covering in your first week. So for example, as somebody that might have hired someone for the first time, you might just not, initially think about what is the important things in the home or in the school or with the children, or, even as being a direct employer. So, you might have never had to manage someone before. So we do prepare and, give the families checklists and things to make that easier for them. And, like, it's not compulsory, but we have collated that based on, our personal experiences working with children, based on, feedback from parents. We've put this together to really try and make you start on the right foot. So then, hopefully, fingers crossed, that you won't need to change the worker, it will all go smoothly, and that if there is anything that needs to be covered, it's covered from the beginning, so there's less chance of any issues moving forward.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, and that's also great, because that ongoing support at the start is, it's obviously an adjustment for everybody, family, child, candidate, and it takes a little bit of time to kind of have it all settle and the process to be kind of supported by you guys is obviously really helpful. So I'm sure that's very reassuring to those of you that are listening and thinking about using Orbit Care. So I'm just going to ask you to finally share with us, Kerry, why did you start Orbit Care, and what was your sort of vision when you started Orbit Care? What did you want to achieve?
I think, being from a background of special needs, a background of education, and a background of childcare, I've definitely seen, the need in every single bit of, a child's life, all the way up to adulthood, working with different ages. And, there's never ever going to be, one service that can fix everything. But I think what the biggest thing for me was realizing that, the child or the client, because we do work with older adults sometimes as well, or older children, the client is, the middle, it's the core of everything. And the reason that we came up with the name Orbit Care was, initially we see the client as like, the star in the middle, and the only way that that universe around it is going to work is that everything orbits around it at its own pace. It all has its own job, it all has its own properties, like being a bit of a space nerd, every planet has its own thing. It all provides something different to that system, that orbit that's going on around that central thing. So being able to have, an inclusive network, and also being able to guide parents to say, as much as you need this help, but this is how you two can work together as professionals. This is how you can both orbit around what's important in the middle. And I guess the vision is just having, like I said, a system in place which flows, which orbits around each other, which says, I might not be able to fulfill this part of what this child's need is, but there is going to be somebody or somewhere that can, so we can reach out to them and then work all together as a team. I think especially, in the UAE, it's very up and coming. There's a lot of changes that have been happening. It's still quite new in terms of, special needs and stuff like that, but they're really, really making such big improvements. But, I think there's not like a central hub for somebody to go to and say, like, I just don't know where to go. So as much as we are providing the recruitment side, we are also trying to provide other services. For example, we have companies that we work with that do parent workshops. They do professional workshops. We have a company that we work with that do activity boxes that we've seen the boxes, we know they're really lovely. We've got other professionals such as recruitment teams in London, so if somebody is struggling with us or they need something extra and we're not available for, we've got a sister company. So it really helps us be able to not just say to the families, sorry, listen, we can't help you. We can be like, okay, we can't do the exact recruitment, but we can help you, with X, Y, and Z. So as well as, like I said, about the workshops, the candidates that we work with every month, we have a company that we work with that hold workshops for us at a set rate, and we usually do them on Zoom, so we can allow as many people to join as possible. And we have different topics every month. So I have come across so many amazing candidates and amazing workers that just might not have, they have the knowledge, they have the skill set, but they just don't have the certification, or they do have the knowledge and they just want a refresher course. So we're working together, putting both sides in the right direction, not just the parents. And also things like first aid companies, we are linked in with the first aid companies that we know that's reputable. So we want people to go to, correct services that we know are going to be good for them, rather than trying to figure it out on their own sometimes, which can be really overwhelming. And then in the end, they just probably don't get to it, or it's so overwhelming that they don't know where they're going. So yeah, we're trying to be more of like a network as well as the recruitment side of it. So yeah, that's the vision. Eventually we want a really big network. We want to be able to do more things. So work in progress. But yeah, just to have that hub where people can come and talk openly also. We don't like to judge over our side. I know there's a lot of parents that are struggling. They might not know who to talk to. So we want them to be able to be very open with us and honest, so we can help them the best way that we can.
It really, as I said earlier, so I'm going to say it again, warms my heart to hear all about Orbit Care. And I love the name, and I hadn't realised that was why you called it Orbit Care. But just speaking personally, as an expat mum, a mum of a neurodivergent child, and just a person who obviously works in this similar kind of call it industry, it's a terrible word to describe it, but works with children indirectly, let's say, it's happening more and more that we're aware that not every child is a normal child or a regular child or an average child. And because we're expats, additional support through services is really helpful and important. And not always are we aware of where we can get that readily. Not saying that we knew where we would get that readily in our home countries, but I'm just saying, I can only speak as I find myself now as an expat. So it's just really lovely to hear all about the things you're doing at Orbit Care, Kerry, because as I say, my son is so neurodivergent, and I do know that those additional services are so valuable. He has an LSA. She's a wonderful lady, and I'm so grateful to her and his school for having that available to him, and it's really changed his schooling experience and how well he's doing at school. So for those of you who've watched this video and this speaks to you, or you feel like you are somebody who would really benefit from talking to Kerry at Orbit Care and their services, please do reach out to her. On the post, you'll find all of the contact information of Kerry and Orbit Care. And I just want to say, finally, thank you so much. I can think of 2 people that I want to contact or want to connect you with immediately. So I'm going to do that separately from this. But thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for everything you've shared with us, and we really appreciate it. And good luck with your business.
Thank you so much. It's been really nice to be able to talk about it and have a conversation with you. So thank you so much.
Pleasure. Lovely to see you, Kerry. See you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.